Hello, hello, and welcome to the. Are we on board? Okay. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the FMI Guild webinar. We have with me Brett Hobel. Thank you for joining us today. Say hi, Brett.
What's up?
There we go. The
How are
camera
you
flipped.
guys?
Okay. Yeah. You have to make a noise, and then they can see you. But I think they can see you like in the lower corner or whatever. So, really excited to have Brett with us today. It's a huge honor. A little bit about Brett. I don't know what you do. A lot of stuff, but you've got some amazing accomplishments on your skill set. You have been a Beachbody coach. You had Rev Abs, and there's a funny story that goes along with it, which is how we met in the first place. Um, okay, I'll tell you guys, since whenever you start a story like that, you're kind of like, well, what's she talking about? Okay, so I think your audition was like in 2011 in LA, and I get this note from one of my casting friends. Hey, you can just show up at this casting. It's really awesome. I didn't even have a clue what it was for, so clearly I was very prepared to show up for this thing. And usually these castings, you show up and you do like front side left turns, and you're like this on camera, and that's it. You bounce. You're done. You just judge on your looks. Brett's casting, however, was completely different. This man showed us that you needed to be the real deal on day of and be prepared. And he drove you through, I think, like a 7 or 15-minute really hardcore workout. And I remember thinking about 2/3 of the way, and I'm like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. This is kind of hard. And then a bunch of us friends, we waited after we got done with the audition simply to watch our other friends who were coming in and out to be like, hey, what'd you think about that? How was your experience? And everyone's like, as with that, oh, I'm fine. They're like, oh my God, what was it? What just happened? So Brett is clearly very much the real deal when it comes to fitness. He has a Rev Abs program with Beachbody, so he's a Beachbody star. He also has a program called the 20-Minute Body, which he's come out with as well, which he can tell you a little bit about later. He's also Capoeira. How do you say that?
Capoeirista.
Capoeirista. Okay. But it's that cool martial art, fitness form, dancing, Brazilian art. And he's an expert of it. And he also has a ton of video footage on that as well. And finally, he is a branding and marketing expert. He's really big in the LA scene, and I always see him out and about on like Santa Monica Pier and all these other places, running these awesome, cool boot camps, just bringing fitness to the forefront for the public. So thank you so much for joining us, and also mentioning he will be at the FMI Summit in a week and a half or so. So I wanted to bring Brett on board because with a lot of the speakers and everything, I think it's really interesting to just be able to pick their brains a little bit before we get them on board for the live stage. Give us a little introduction about yourself, and I think he's got a couple notes of wisdom that he wanted to share with us about branding ourselves and finding our soul within our fitness, which is exactly how I came in love with fitness too. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brett, and then he can go ahead and take it from here.
Sure. For those of you guys out there that are fitness entrepreneurs or in the health and wellness industry, I'll tell you a little story about mine. I got my start in the fitness industry not for a want, but I needed something, and it was called a free membership to a gym. I was a pre-med, and I was doing that like hardcore rat race for a long time. And I actually went to school in LA, moved to New York. I couldn't afford a gym membership. I was a broke lab tech, literally working at Rockefeller University, and I couldn't afford a gym membership. They were like $100 a month, and I was just like saving money and applying med school. So on the 10th, if some of you have heard this, I'm sure you get a chuckle out of this. My buddy had a membership to New York Sports Club, and I would go in with him all the time. By like the 10th time I went in with him over this month, the front desk chick, who was really cute, pulls me aside and is like, you're that guy. You cannot come in anymore for free. Like, you have to get a membership. And I'm like, oh my God, traumatized by the cute girl. My buddy's next to me, and he's like cracking up because I'm basically getting kicked out, and we have to leave. Like, we basically have to leave. So he pulls me aside. He's just like, what do you want to do? And he says, why don't you just teach here? You take all the boxing, kickboxing classes. You've boxed, you've done martial arts, you've done all this stuff. Why don't you teach? So part of the moral of this story is I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel qualified because I didn't have the best certification. I hadn't fought professionally, only amateur, and all this stuff was going through my head, and I didn't think I was qualified. Well, I didn't know what the the directors were looking for. But I basically said, well, there's the sidekick assistant guy in the class. Maybe I could be that guy. And I called up and I applied. The guy that ran the department for 30 years quit. And one of the younger instructors got promoted. He's in the same position as me. He was thinking, I don't know if I can run this. I don't know if I can take over this program. I'm just an instructor. So he says, show up and I'm going to interview you. I show up with a clipboard with my resume, and I'm like in like almost literally like a suit, going to like try to impress this guy. And he says to me, 20 extra people showed up to class. Take your jacket off, put your clipboard down. Here are 2 focus mitts, and you're going to teach with me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I thought this was an interview. You sink or you swim. You don't know what the other side is thinking. It's not what comes out of a book. It's what comes out of your heart. And I was like, got right in it, used the focus mitts. As soon as I was done teaching that class with him, he looked at me and said, you're hired. Boom. That was it. That was my start into the fitness industry. I needed a free membership. Didn't think I was going to do it as a career. Show up, thinking I'm unqualified, getting kicked out of a gym. So if there's any like doubt going through your mind about changing careers, going into something, having fear, been there, done that, and living proof that it's just like what you put your hard work and soul and love into, that will become a success.
I did not know that. That is wild.
That is a real story, my friend. That is the truth. Yeah.
And then did you just run with it? You were just like, as you were doing med school and everything, you're kind of like, yeah, kind of like this a lot more than going to class, and this is paying bills. And wow.
I was so I taught at night. I lab teched from 9 to 5. And I was like, oh my God, if I have to study Boyle's law of gas, who cares? Who cares? I mean, it was like, how is this Boyle's law of gas going to help me working with patients? I didn't know. I don't think any med school student knows. But I would run to my boxing classes. It was like the brightest part of my day. I couldn't wait for 5 o'clock and would run to New York Sports. I'd get there early. I'd teach. I was making my playlist from like the radio, like listening to like live house music and stuff. I was going out clubbing in New York City, having a blast, and I just loved it. And, to make a long story short, there just came a point when I finally got the acceptance letter in the medical school. So this was a part-time thing. That's all it was. And I was like determined for med school. I get the letter finally from one of the schools. I mean, I retook my MCATs. I was publishing articles, abstracts, doing all this stuff to get in. When I finally got in and I opened up that letter, I just remember feeling this ginormous weight lifted off. Like I just this huge.
Hey, Brett, are you still there? Hey guys, my browser just shut down by accident here, and I think I just booted Brett in the middle of his chat. Are you guys still with me? Can you still hear me? I see some viewers here still. There's a chat window over to the, okay, cool. Let me tell Brett right now to jump back online. Hey. All right, I just text messaged him. Hang tight, guys. He should be back on in a second.
All right, we're back.
Yay! Okay, Brett's back with us. Thank you. Sorry.
All right.
All right.
So
Yeah, so you got your medical, your med acceptance, and you're like,
as soon
whew.
as that happened, and I literally was just like, this has been a lot. I realized it was more to prove to my parents than it was. I just realized that I was like, wow, a lot of this had to do with like me trying to appease my mom more than my dad. But and then I realized I don't think I want to do this, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I asked my dad. I sat down with him shortly after this and was kind of like, this is the first time. Medical school is tough, but it's all lined out for you. Take your MCATs, get in, do your residency, blah blah. And I just knew that I didn't want to do that. And he gave me some really good advice. He sat me down and just said, I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you this one thing, that find something that you love to do, that you have love for. Because if you do that, it'll never feel like work, and the money will come or it won't matter to you. And that I lived with seeing my dad, who was a professor at Princeton, who didn't make a lot of money and could have worked for drug companies, like private drug companies that were always trying to recruit him, and earned 4 times his salary. And he never did it. And he never did it because he loved his work, he loved his students, and he loved his research, and the money wasn't worth it. So for me, the first thing that came to mind was fitness. That's the thing that my mom said I could throw a ball before I could walk or talk, and that I always been good at sports. I was an overweight teenager. I went through some pretty dark times as a teenager with food allergies, and then developed, eating disorders I didn't even know I had as a kid, and all sorts of stuff. Fitness got me out of that. And so that's what I turned to. And I told my dad, I think fitness is what I want to do. And I'm sure he's sitting there going, Dr. Hobel to Richard Simmons. I don't know. Let me I don't know if that's a career, but he said, if you can support a family and make a career out of it, you got my support. The most important thing is I had love for it, and I still had love for it. And if that to me is the single most important thing. And I know it may sound cliche, but there's a lot of people out there doing stuff that they really don't have love for. And it's not, even if you do, it's not a cakewalk. I mean, there's plenty of times that I sit down frustrated and even question, is this going to be, what I'm going to keep doing forever and ever? But I always come back to this, there's always a full circle, and it's yes, I love this. I love this. I love helping people. I love teaching what I know. I love learning in this industry. I love sharing it. So I think, all of you that are tuning in, you're part of a really great group and collective community, and it's awesome just being here, being able to share this and learn together. We're all on a journey together, man, and it's great sort of helping one another and learning together. It's big.
So yeah, we're covering a little bit about the emotional connection, whatever you pour your hard work into, and how it'll work out in relationships and career. And how long ago was it that the medical, from the point that you made that decision to now? How many years has it been?
Oh man, it's been a good 15,
15 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has really been your full-time career since really out of college. It's kind of like your main and only career. And then what brought you to LA?
But I can say this, is that a lot of, when I was considering changing, I was like, what about all the years I studied medical stuff? How am I going to apply that? And so I started as a boxing instructor. There is not a lot of science involved in that. As a group fitness instructor, I feel like you're kind of a glorified motivational speaker / cheerleader. And there are some skill sets that you can teach with that, and I believe there's some skill sets that you either have or you do not have. And there wasn't a lot of science to that. 3 years into that, then I became a personal trainer, and that's when I realized, oh my God, there's all the science that I had studied I can apply, and that helped keep me in my career and really solidify and help me launch faster and faster, because I had so many years of studying stuff that other people in the industry didn't have. They didn't have biochemistry and physics and stuff that when you get into the science of training, it's applicable. You really apply it and can learn faster. So that was also a big turning point in my career when I went from a group fitness instructor into personal training. They're very different. Very different.
How many people online right now have a medical background? I see Amy on online with us. I know she's a nurse actually, an FMIer. How many other people have a like a medical or kind of like um, that kind of background? Let's see if they pitch up.
Yeah, I think having a fitness background, medical background, a marketing background is huge right now. You've got a marketing and business background; those are really big.
Yeah, you know, and I would say that's kind of like been what got me into the whole fitness thing and finding my own niche too. Is just I came from an IT background and an investment banker background, but because I had MBA and a master's of finance, jumping into what was my passion now being fitness, I was like, oh my gosh, blue ocean! I can just go in here, use the same skill sets, but just work with all the people I love.
Yeah, I can tell you definitely have a great background in that. You're a smart cook.
So tell me more about how like you came to LA and then did you immediately jump in with Beachbody? How did that work out?
Um, wow, that was well, let me tell you a little bit about the fitness from within and sweating with soul, and that will lead into the move.
Perfect.
So, for those of you out there, I teach a branding course called Build Your Fitness Brand. That we have a site, buildyourfitnessbrand.com. But when I go do these lectures, one of the things I talk about, I have everybody raise their hand of, have you put your time and money into it? What about other people's time and money? And wouldn't you want to protect that? So I ask everybody, how many of you have actually trademarked your idea? And I'm not talking about putting a little TM next to it, in pencil or like on your site. I mean, you've gone to like the uspto.gov and done some
Yep.
search. Nobody has done it. And I've seen many of my friends have a big issue. If you're putting one tip, if you're putting a lot of time and money and you're having other people put their time and money and help you, and you have not looked at trademarking your concept or idea, you're making a very big mistake. It's about protecting what you want to create, what you love, and what you own, or what you want to own. And if somebody else was there first, you're going to have a problem. And I've experienced it personally with sub brands that I've launched, and I've had friends that. So go to the uspto.gov. It stands for United States Patent and Trademark Office.gov, and you can do a basic search and look for it. Like I did 20-minute body, and I did a search. So true story. The first, my first brand was called Urban Motion, and it was an eclectic mix of all the styles that I was doing: boxing, kickboxing, capoeira, and freestyle dance, like club dance. Put it together into a class. So I was a boxing instructor, and I was taking time off to study for my MCATs for medical school, the entrance exam. I'd come back and I lost all my classes because, rightfully so, if you're gone for a couple of months, people want to, who's the new instructor? So, long story short, I was like, I got to come up with a class where I don't lose it, something that's more specific. It's more me. And I came up with this class, what was happening in the gym. And I really believe a lot of genius comes out of just destiny and stroke of luck. I was teaching these boxing classes and people were stealing the jump ropes that we would warm up with. I had no jump ropes. So you have to improvise, man. Life is about improvising because it throws curveballs, sink or swim. So we walk in this day and there's just no jump ropes. And I'm like, you know what? I just put on the house music and I started shadow boxing to the beat, doing some, balanza and capoeira moves coming up in the boxing. Everyone loved it. Everyone loved it. Hey, can you do more of that next time? So I stumbled upon this warm up. The warm up ended up being, it became a class. And I ended up doing an event for it. And I ended up trademarking this class, Urban Motion. Didn't think of coming up with it, came out of it because people were stealing jump ropes, to be honest. The class gets formed and I start wanting to trademark the name, which I did get trademarked. And the tagline used to be Beyond Fitness because I thought what we were doing was going beyond just working out. Well, my trademark friend, who was an attorney, she's got an amazing group. It's called Trademarks the Spot. She's amazing. She can hook it up. She was like, I did a search, and guess what? There is a company that already is Beyond Fitness. And I'm like, but I just want to do a trademark and put it on t-shirts. And she's like, you can't do it. If you put it on a t-shirt. So she basically talked me out of this after I had been like, it was on my email signatures and on the site and on the this and the that. And I was so emotionally attached to that Beyond Fitness, it was really tough. But at the end of the day, again, it's fine to be emotionally attached, but there's always another way. So I basically took her advice begrudgingly, and I just sat down and was like, what else do you stand for? What else are my hot buttons? Hot buttons are things that you emotionally connect to, that you stand for. So going Beyond Fitness, I'm like, why is it Beyond Fitness? What is it about that? I had to really start asking myself. And I went back to when I dug myself out of this hole as an overweight, 50 pounds overweight teenager through fitness. And I was like, when I remember those days, I went back to like that. Those are some big turning points in my life. It was that fitness showed up on the outside because it came from within me. It was a really hard emotional struggle. And I just turned back to being like, I'm not going to let what people call me as fat and this and that define me. I'm going to look at what I've done. I know I'm good at sports. I was good at sports when I was younger and thin, and I'm still good at sports even though I'm 50 pounds overweight. And I was nicknamed the fat kid that didn't know he was fat because I could run, jump, and do all these things that most other overweight kids couldn't. So I started thinking back about that. I went back and I was like, what I stand for is there is transformation through fitness from within. And it just all came to me, and fitness from within rolled off my tongue. And that was like, I thought that was even better than Beyond Fitness. And she checked and she's like, it's good. And we were like, boom. So that's how that came about. And it, like, the story is, it came from me getting told I couldn't do something, and I was bummed. I was like crushed. You can make lemonades out of lemon, my friend. No matter how you slice it, you just got to be creative and it will happen. So I'm not saying don't be bummed out, but don't let that detract from moving forward. You can always move forward and make something better. So I believe we did that. And that was the birth point of now a bigger brand for me is when I get asked about the secret of fitness and stuff, it does come from within, but I can give some very scientific things and this soundbitey things to an editor that sound great. But the reality is this, is if you want to fitness, you got to be in it for the long haul. Like I have my Rev Abs cover. If you go Google that, I've got like a 12 pack. I am not walking around with a 12 pack right now. I mean, my abs are in pretty good shape, but I dehydrated. I did all sorts of bodybuilding stuff to get the most shredded abs I can. I'm being totally honest, because I'm going on a box cover and I'm doing an infomercial. So I want it to be like extra ripped. But that's not me walking around every day. So if you want it, that is a very short, quick, I can tell you how to do that. That's like the surface of it. Okay, that's the sweat, the pounds. That is the very outside physicality of fitness that is tangible and accessible like the shell of an oyster. But the pearl inside is how it will change your life if you commit to it and you get that transformation on the inside, not the outside. The outside is the shell of the oyster. The transformation on the inside of you, to me, is the pearl. So I can give these here's how you do this, and here's the best, plyometric exercise and metabolic thing. But that's, to me, that's like a short term. If you want to be in this for the long term, if you want to have this transform your life, transform your family, your work, then it's about finding real connection, a soul in your fitness. And that's why I came up with Sweating with Soul. It's having love for something, having passion for something. It can be in your fitness, it can be in your relationships. It's whatever you're going to put your hard ass work into with love, not just passion. Passion can be someone who just runs around like they're chicken without their head off, and they're passionate, but they may not have love for it. I'm talking about not just passion, but passionate love for something you do. You got to have an emotional connection to that. And for me, that's my capoeira. It's a Brazilian martial art. Maybe it's lifting weights, CrossFit, Zumba. I don't know. But you're going to know when you got love for it. And that's something that is irreplaceable. So you can read all the magazines and watch all the YouTube and get some great short things that get you there for a little while, and I'm happy. But you find Sweating with Soul, and you will be in it for the next 50, 60 years. And that's really important. And when I talk about this on a business standpoint or relationships or whatever, you need inner strength. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you need inner strength because there is a lot of tough work that you're going to set out for. Relationships, anything. The fastest way to build inner strength is through struggle, in my opinion. Strength is in the struggle. And the fastest way to do that, I don't care what industry you're in, you don't have to be an athlete for fitness. Go do a hard workout, and you're going to leave with some swag and some kick in your step, and you will carry that over into every part of your day and your life. So I'm serious. If you want to get better at your job or all of these things, don't lose sight of how taking care of your health and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone in those workouts builds that inner strength that carries over. You know what I'm saying? Like, people that have handled their fitness on a serious way, or even they're just starting their journey, it helps them everywhere. So Sweating with Soul can be in business, but fitness still works its way in there. Sweating with Soul can be in fitness. Find something that really emotionally you connect to that you can do day in and day out. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox. I get very excited.
Well, I love how what this is perfect a testament to is how well you've tied in your personal story, and then it leads into your passion and to why you're doing this fitness, because then it shows the purpose. Why are you doing this? And then you can feel the energy continue coming out. So let's talk about for people who come to you with and they need help with their fitness brand, and they're like, Brett, you got this amazing connection to what you do. How can I find my own story? How can I find my own branding?
I try to find what people really stand for. What are their hot buttons? What is it that purpose? What do you want to convey? What do you want the end person to feel? These are things that are really, really key. And they start a lot of times. So there's a process that you go through. And for a lot of people, it starts off very generic, and that's fine. And there's two ways. You go from very narrow and you expand. And when you do that, then you get to see the very signature gems from these people. So they may stand for, I want to help others. And that's very generic. And then when we expand it, there is a real reason why they want to help people, how they want to help people. And when they write and they start talking about it more and more and more and more, then these very signature sort of esoteric things that are just about them come out. One tip.
So it's like the five whys, right? It's kind of like, you tell me you want to help people. Why?
Yeah, knowing your why. But I'm like, I want to know about purpose. I want to know about your why. I give very specific words that will help them. And one thing when they start doing this, I'm like, if you're a writer, write. If you're a talker, a great thing to use is on your iPhone, or if you have the voice recognition on the smartphones, you can just talk into it and let it rattle, or do a voice memo or something else. But I like doing the voice transcription because it writes it out for you and you can start reading it, and you will see these gems pop out. You got to let people talk about it. And if they're sitting there trying to type and think, a lot of them can't type fast enough. Just get it out. So you go from very short. Once people say, I want to help people find their purpose. Great, generic. I need you to explain why, how. Start giving them these action words, and then they can expand. Do it through something like a voice recognition, and you really start to see these signature things from people. And the reverse, you can start from a very broad thing and refine it down into like, I want you to explain that in 140 characters for Twitter. And they got to really think how to boil that down, and they go from a big story to an elevator pitch to one sentence to 140 characters. And we sort of condense it down because it's important to learn how to do that. So, telling your story, there's usually, in my opinion, an arc. There's where you were in the past. Generally, you went through a struggle or some type of pivotal event. This is the arc. And then you came out on the other side, and there are lessons learned on how you did that. It was me as a kid. Hit a real bad point where I was allergic to wheat, and my mom wouldn't let me have sugar because I was diagnosed as hyperactive. So I grew up not being able to eat. Imagine going to a birthday party as a kid, which is probably the most fun thing. You can't have the cake, you can't have the icing, you can't have half the chips, you can't have the hot dog bun, the hamburger bun, you can't have everything. You have to show up with a bag with your own food in it. You are one of these people.
The fitness lifestyle today, we just show up with our own food anyways.
nowadays people are like, that sounds
That
amazing.
sucks as a kid.
I don't want those carbs. Well, back then as a kid, it was like, hi, how are you? My mom gave me a bag of food to bring to the party. It was not fun. So I binged and overate on all these food to get attention instead of finger pointing high fives. And I did. And then I would disappear in the bathroom, bent over because I had an allergic reaction to the food. And eventually, after doing this for over a year, I ballooned up 50 pounds. And the high fives went to, wait, you're fat. And all the bullying came back. And it was rough. But understanding where like a lot of my insecurities and thing came from, I'm able to go back, and my story is like that was this fitness from within, gaining the weight as a kid, hitting rock bottom, not wanting to be the last kid in high school to kiss a girl. I was at the end of the line. I was way back there, ladies and gentlemen. I might have been not been last, but I was pretty far back there. And it took a lot to basically want to do sports again. And I did. And I was able to prove myself in sports to the coaches and the other kids. I had a prowess for sports. And thank God I didn't allow, the other kids, what they would say about me or do to me. What people say or do to you doesn't define you. The only thing that defines you are your actions. And I remember, having to, like, I'd get in fights, like kids would be pushing me and stuff. It was lame, and was able to make varsity and do all this and get out of it. And this is sort of this character arc. But when you're building your story, I like to say you have little chapters and just pick headings. So one was the fat kid that didn't know he was fat. The other, was like, what people say and do doesn't define you, your actions do. Things like that are these bullet points that you can then expand on to tell a great story, and they sum up the essence of like that chapter. So I don't want to get off too much topic, but when it comes to developing your brand and your story, it's really important. There are ways to dig into what you really stand for, your purpose, your why, your hot buttons, how to expand on them and how to condense them, so that you come up with a great story and a character arc that is real, that then you can tell very easily with just these little bullet points that are like headers of a chapter that you can start. I'm going to tell you about fitness from within. Ears perk up, let me tell you that story. And it becomes a very good way of getting your brand across. And it's also, this is cross training for when you speak to an editor, when you go on TV. You learn how to talk in these sound bites that all of a sudden, if you've got 2 minutes on a television show, 2 minutes will fly by like this. And if you don't know how to speak in these sound bites, all of a sudden you'll have gotten to 1 point instead of 4, and the episode is over, and you may not get asked back. When you learn how to speak like this, it's nice to have the people running, the producers say, that was awesome. You got all your points across, and this and that. And they ask you back again. So it's cross training for a lot of things that I know you guys are going to be doing in the future.
This is actually like, it perked my ears a bit, because I know you've gotten some amazing opportunities come past you, like you're being able to be a trainer on The Biggest Loser and being with Beachbody and having all these public appearances. Would you say with the people who make the decisions, were they more interested, or what closed the deal with them? Was it that your personal story, or was it your professional highlights?
I think what first got them in the door was a lot of things that I had done, and they wanted to know, like for Biggest Loser, they wanted to know that they had someone with the qualifications. So for me, I wasn't in the industry for like a year. I'd been in the industry and been doing a lot of different things, and I think that helped, being in the industry for the time that I was. So I didn't have to talk out of, like maybe this would happen. I had done it, proved it, done it with groups, done it with clients day in and day out. So the other, though, is when you get the interview, they want to know, is this the person that I see on their Instagram, or is this the person that I read about in their blog? And I'm telling you, from a lot of producers and a lot of brands out there, they are complaining that when they meet a lot of these talent in person, they don't have the same persona as they have on their social media or their blog or these other places. And I think, I'm not saying you can't be your alter ego or your alter ego in your social media and your blog or whatever. But if you're really not like that in person, you do run the risk of showing up in person, and you can't act that out, or you can try, but it's going to be tough. So the one nice thing was I was never trying to be over the top or this or that. It was always like, let me just be who the heck I am and let that stand on itself. And when I showed up for the interviews for Biggest Loser, that was the biggest compliment I got from the top executives. Were like, you know what, you're the real deal, man, and we can see that you live what you preach, and that you're doing this, and that you got the results. And I wasn't trying to prove anything at that point, and I think that went a long way. So I guess my point out there is, if you're just starting out and you're branding yourself, try to really be true to who you are. There's always going to be an audience for who you are. You just have to get that audience. If you're trying to, I want to be like Tony Horton because he's got the biggest audience, but he's his own quirky, funny way of doing things. And if that's not you and you don't have that sarcasm, then don't do it. Or you're not me, then, so it's good to emulate to a degree, but if you're really copycatting and pigeonholing yourself, you're going to be acting, and that shows up real quick. And we're in a time and age of social media where people want authenticity. They want genuineness. They don't need 1,000 filters. Periscope and Snapchat are crushing it right now. Why? Because you're not backlit and like a red camera on you and all this stuff. It's an iPhone. People are in their jammies and no one cares. It's the real deal. Yeah, exactly. And I love that. I respect that, because I'm like, yeah, I want to know how you did it and what you're like real deal. I don't want to have to think, do I have to get those filters, and oh my God, what about this and what about that? So I think that's an important transition that we're in, and when you're branding yourself, take that into consideration.
For when you did brand yourself, did you focus more on social media or like your website, or like if you did use social media to brand yourself, did you use more like YouTube or Facebook or such?
What I did in the beginning, and this was just, I had a little bit of a knack for this. I taught myself how to use Photoshop, Illustrator, a couple of programs like that. I sat down with I just asked some favors, some friends that knew how to use it. They showed me the basics. And then I just started putting together a press kit for Urban Motion. Like, people were like, do you have a press kit? I'm like, what's that? So I downloaded a press kit online of someone else that I was following. It had an about section, and it was like, it's basically a condensed version of a website. Meet the owner, about the company, here's the philosophy, here are some this, that, and the other thing, contact. I took all those pages off the site, looked at someone else's press kit, and knew I wanted to do one small page or a paragraph for each of those, taught myself how to use it, and I started with that. I started branding myself through these PDFs. It became an EPK, or an electronic press kit, and started with just that. Then started shooting video and taught myself how to use Final Cut Pro, sat down with people that knew how to use it. I mean, now you've got iMovie on an iPhone. That is like really easy. You can teach yourself how to do this stuff so easily. It's not even funny, in my opinion. So I taught myself how to use that and started just doing some basic edits on videos that I had shot, and put together sort of a sizzle reel, and then handed that off to someone that could lay in some music and do a better job, and wasn't that expensive. And now I had a video asset or a sizzle reel. And again, I also went back to what are some of the things that I wanted to convey in this press kit? What were my hot buttons? Transformation was a big one. Empowerment was another one. Strength, but not necessarily physical strength, internal strength. So all of these hot buttons, I knew when you come up with those for yourself, I had about 5, they need to be conveyed through pictures, they need to be conveyed through words, and they need to be conveyed through videos. Those hot buttons that are what your brand stands for have to be conveyed universally through everything that you do. So when I'm writing the captions for all of this stuff, I wanted to make sure that those things came through. Is someone going to leave when they read this press kit and feel empowered? Is there something about transformation in here? Is there something about building strength? All of those things. And the same with the scissor reel. And that was a good lesson because when I handed, then it became a whole package. I would send an email out with the PDF attached, summary, and a link to the video. And it was all combined in one. And they got hit with this all at once. They got one place to go where they get the branding at once. And then eventually those things became that press kit. Those pages became the landing pages of my website. And that video reel became like the video reel that popped up when they landed on the website. And I built all this stuff first, and those became the building blocks for the site, and the branding was still in there. Martial arts was another sort of hot button, and it was that now has become Sweating with Soul. Martial arts is underneath this Sweating with Soul part, but I hope that sort of gives a little bit of an idea of what I wanted to do. I thought about these things that I wanted to convey. I started writing, I started using pictures, and I started doing video, and then figuring out how to put those together visually, because that's how it's going to happen. And when I was doing all of that, obviously I was thinking about this, I got to practice speaking it a little bit more, because you can show people visually written, and then you can also tell them about it. And I'm telling you, the number one way that you're going to convince people of your brand is by telling them. I think either through video or face-to-face. And there's a lot of face-to-face. I don't think there is any replacing human contact. That was when I get asked, what was like the number one lesson you learned on the Biggest Loser? It was that there is no replacing human contact, personal contact, showing that you care. So when we're on that season, Kara and I, we went up against Bob and Jillian, and I thought we were all going to be doing this together, and they kind of changed the format where it was like in the beginning, it was our red team versus their blue team. And usually they have a workout day one, and it was a challenge. And the way that you finish this 5K challenge with these two, everyone was a couple. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, there were 11 couples. If you finished first, then you got to pick between Bob and Jillian or the unknown trainers. They didn't even know who our names were at that point. So first through 11th was the order they got to pick for which trainers they went with. The first three finished and picked us. They picked us because the catch was, if you go with Bob and Jillian, you get no immunity. If you go with the unknown trainers, you get 4 weeks of immunity. That means 4 weeks that you cannot be eliminated from the show. That's huge. A month on the ranch, or we weren't on the ranch, but a month on the show without being eliminated was huge. So the first three couples picked us. So I knew they picked us not because they wanted, they knew that we were these trainers, and they're like, oh my God, they wanted the immunity. So it was interesting because the way I knew that the only way we're going to convince them of this is by showing them face to face what we can do and how much we care about them. It's this human contact, which was the number one thing. That's it. So we actually I trained with them every day. I'm pushing a prowler with basically the same weight as Rulon, the Olympic gold medalist, right next to me. So you think when I'm pushing a prowler next to him with like hundreds of pounds loaded up, and he wants to quit, and I'm not quitting, and I just I don't even have to yell at him. I just tell him, we, not you, we're doing another lap. He did another lap. That type of human contact was worth its weight in gold for everyone on the team. And the rest of the team would see me doing that. And it developed a very strong rapport. So, if you're out there, that just, it is irreplaceable. I'm going to give a talk at FMI about doing an infomercial, and a big thing are the testimonials, the before and afters. I don't care if you're doing it in an online challenge group or you're doing it in person. That love that you show, because doing 100 people in a challenge group, I'd say keep it short, 10, 20 people that you can dial in every day. That human contact, that's what gets you the results. That's what gets people in the entire time. So that's a huge, huge part of it. So you're video, what you do on video, and when you meet people and you tell them about your brand, that human contact is irreplaceable. People are going to tell you word of mouth. It can travel like wildfire, because when they hear that, then they go on their social media and that has huge reach and they just rave about you from one little thing that you got to show them. So that's why, you know, you may start with writing photos and videos, but like you got to start speaking it. Telling your story is not writing it down. It is telling it like this. So you get better at it. You get more concise with it. You get your sound bites in there. You get, you know, fitness from within, sweating with soul. All these little sound bites that become your brand are really sticky. And that's when people go write about it and they'll use that tagline or that hashtag. That, you know, walk your talk, fitness from within, sweating with soul. These are all hashtags. These are all t-shirts that we have. I could go on and on about this, but hopefully you guys will be at FMI and you'll see it. But that's how you get the brand to stick. That's how you communicate it in person, and it spreads. It spreads.
Yeah, and I see a big difference within even my own business is, you know, I can put out content, tweets and messages and social media, but when I have webinars, the connection level with the audience is so much stronger. And it's just so much easier, as we all know, to be able to explain concepts and ideas through our facial expressions and our words, and then be able to interact in real time as we're having conversations. So like for those who are looking to build their brands, my big takeaways from what you're saying is, yes, go in there, create a summary of who you are. If you don't have a website yet, don't be hindered by it. Think about creating a press kit. You can start by creating in a Word doc, and then you can go on to either contact a graphic designer or go on to other freelance boards out there that exist, marketplaces, find a graphic designer to help you out to make it look really professional, to hone your brand. Then the second piece is get on video or get in person as much as you possibly can so that you can communicate your message and hone what you need to do for the customer. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So YouTube. We have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Instagram. Actually, every single social media except maybe Pinterest we have right now is incorporating video. So there is actually no excuse at this point in time why you cannot get onto video and communicate what you're about.
So you guys heard me talk about me transitioning from medicine into fitness, me being an overweight kid, and also having fitness be such a part of my life to help me kind of pull that out of the hole. So there was an arc in that, the whole thing of my story. Here's how I would sum it up. The fat kid that didn't know he was fat, that's one bullet point, and I would write a paragraph on that. Fitness from within is another whole bullet point that talks about me using fitness to get me out of that, and the beginning seeds of my love for fitness and how that was the potential starting point of a career. And the third one, passion is priceless, which is when I transitioned from medicine into something that I was doing, but it wasn't really my calling, into then going back into fitness. Those are three simple bullet points that are the titles, and then I would write out paragraphs for each of those. That, like, just choose 3 or 4 bullet points that sum up your story, a little bit of this arc, and then write them out. And that's a great starting point for you. You're going to have some great headers. You can sort of see that arc of what you want to do. I really think there should be some struggle, some triumph, and some lessons that you learned along the way. That makes a good story.
Indeed. I think like especially having the struggle, then people can relate to that, because with every story is always a 3-part, exactly as you mentioned. The beginning, the struggle, the transformation. And then at the transformation part is where your lessons learned can become your marketable product to your audience. Because everybody always wants to see the person who's walked the walk, not just talking the talk, even if the person is a PhD in that knowledge. But if they don't convey in a certain way that there's some type of personal level experience, the personal level experience person will most oftentimes have a better connection with the person with the problem itself. So speaking about being an entrepreneur, I think this is the last item that we have down, and I love this point that you brought up. But the key to being an entrepreneur and making the change and how to stay inspired on a long haul we're now doing this, your full-time, obviously full-on career, very, very exciting career doing what you do. And you're in probably the city that has the most entrepreneurs per capita in the world, in Los Angeles. So tell me a little bit about like your key takeaways as being an entrepreneur doing what you do.
Man, you gotta, part of it is you gotta have a tough skin. Like that's a big part of it. It's you gotta look at this for the long haul and literally have at least a 5-year plan. I think people are just jumping in right away. If you have a plan that you can follow, even if it changes here and there, you've got to think 5 years down the road, where do you want to be? And I'm talking about in love, relationships, business. Go do the work, see the life that you want to live 5, 10 years down the road, and start.
And I think he just cut out by accident here. I'm still online though, so I didn't do it this time. Let's text Brett right now and say that he just disconnected. In the meantime, while I'm texting Brett, can you guys have like the question board over to the side here? Put in here any questions that you want to ask for Brett so that we can load him up as we're wrapping up this chat. He's coming back on. He says, hold on a second. But yeah, please do. I don't see any questions yet, so please start typing anything that you might want to ask Brett, and then we'll make sure that we get those answered. And Brett said he wants to answer some questions. So we're still waiting for your questions, guys, as he's trying to jump back on board. As we're, you know what, instead, well, I'm having some dead time here and we're waiting for him to come back on board here. Brett's actually going to be a VIP keynote speaker at the FMI Fitness MBA Summit, October 22nd and 24th. His lecture will be on this Saturday, where he's actually going to talk about how to create an online infomercial from conception to launch. Why this is extremely fascinating for me as a producer to bring him on board is that it's a rare opportunity to find someone who has had so much TV experience as him in the biggest productions in the world. He knows exactly what goes into these productions. He knows exactly how they've marketed them and how these large companies make these large campaigns successful. And he's also done products not only in conjunction with Beachbody, but he's also created products on his own, the 20-minute body program, which he's completed from conception to launch and has launched it. So being able to listen to how someone like with his experience and background and the oversight of the entire program, how do you create a product that is in line with some of the biggest launches in the world, but on a shoestring budget. He knows how to do it, and he's going to be able to speak to us and tell us more on that information. He's going to walk you through the how-tos. It's not just going to be a bunch of fluff. FMI Guild is a little bit unique, is that because we are focused on the business education for fitness entrepreneurs. So, and Brett just joined us here. So Brett, I'm just talking a little bit about FMI a little bit and what you're talking about at the event.
Cool.
Getting into the fact that you're going to be talking about how to create an infomercial from conception to launch. So with him at the VIP luncheon, he's going to be able to answer all of your questions, walk it through. And I know right now he is in almost done wrapping up his own presentation development, and he's sitting down with a bunch of former team members that he's had in the past and going through all the concepts and ideas. So really, really excited about this because I think it's extremely valuable for anyone in any market, in any language, to learn how to launch their own programs.
Yeah. And,
so
what I'm going to talk about at FMI for building an infomercial is whether you want to do this online. The important thing is, this is what I was just talking about, is having a plan and working your way backwards for starting your entrepreneurship or business. Same thing with an infomercial. At the end of the day, an infomercial is just a great way of telling a story. That's what the 30-minute spot is. It's a commercial. It is a story that's being told that is convincing people to go and get that product. But you need a convincing story. And what makes the story convincing are very genuine testimonials. Those testimonials are the before and after pictures and also the stories that these people tell. That's what sells an infomercial. Put it this way. When I had Rev Abs, that was with Beachbody, an infomercial, and you buy the thing off the TV, you don't know what the product is like. You haven't gone through the workouts, P90X, all of them. What you see is the story being told, and if it's convincing, you pick up and you buy it. So to tell that story, there are certain assets or things that you need to collect. How to get the right testimonials, how long they should be, and a lot of things that go into it. I'm going to tell you how to do that, and I'm going to tell you how to do that on a budget. So once you know and you have a blueprint of like the assets or the things that you need to collect to tell that story, then you don't have to play catch up. And that's very, very important. Then when the story is being told and you start to pull in the photos and the videos, it all makes sense, and you don't have, everything matches. It's when things don't match and things like that it can be difficult to tell the story. Whether you want to do that literally as an online infomercial is going to be up to you. The important thing is that you've collected these assets that then you can use in a blog, with an editor, on your website, on your social media. You can use it for so many things, whether it's an online infomercial or not. Really, the value is learning how to collect these assets, how to put them together, and then you have them forever.
That's awesome. We do have a question from Christopher. Christopher asked, I just moved back to Boston from Iceland after 11 years. I have a military background. I'm a father of 5, and I'm 48 years old with a degree in exercise science. What would you suggest in terms of fully breaking into fitness and making something of it at that age?
Well, I would ask, what do you want to do? Do you want to do one-on-one? Do you want to teach? Do you want to lecture? Like, there's a lot of ways to break into the fitness industry. Do you want to do challenges in person, like boot camps? So here's an example. Like, I started teaching in a gym group fitness classes. Then I started doing personal training in a gym. Then I sort of realized I don't like doing personal training in the gym. I'm more of an entrepreneur. I didn't like the rules, and I didn't like giving away 60% of my session. I became an independent trainer and did it on my own. And then I started doing boot camps on my own. So instead of getting paid 70, 80 bucks an hour at a gym, I could charge 20 bucks a head and make more money with 40 people in the boot camp. You have to figure out where you want to start. Maybe the gym is around the corner. It's easy. You have people showing up, so you don't have to market and try to get people there. But you got to sort of think, one is, what are you good at? And the other is just like, what do you want to do? You got to actually figure that out. I would be asking them. Think, here are your options. There's one-on-one. There's group classes. There's boot camps that are different than group classes because you can tie together like products with a boot camp. It's not like just going in and teaching a Zumba class. It can be a little bit different. You actually get to make up your rules there We're in a gym, you got to abide by their rules. Maybe you do a boot camp outside and you get a permit at the park to teach it there. You got to figure out what you really want to do first to get a little bit more advice on that. But get out there and, don't waste time. Like, at least just try it. You can always make lemonade out of lemons. Even if it doesn't go the way you want in the beginning, trust me, if you've got the stick to itness, you'll make it happen. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I love those points, Brett. And I would probably add to that too, is that I work a lot with the tech side of things. So there's a lot of, let's say, trainers that I work with, or people who just have a passion for the fitness industry. Maybe they have skill sets that are, maybe they don't want to do group to group or belly to belly, but they're really good, or they're passionate. Maybe they competed in competitions in the past or something like that. So they become a subject matter expert of a silo, like marathon running, triathlons, CrossFits, or physique shows, things like that. So I see a lot of those people, they actually just start documenting what they're doing. They start having blogs. They start talking about their passion, and then people's ears start picking up. And then they start creating, they have a platform where they can start fielding questions. And as people have questions, you start answering them. And then you start seeing the frequency of how often are these questions coming in. The most frequent questions are going to be your money makers. The one question that people ask you the most is probably the one that you're going to be able to make money off of the fastest.
Yeah. And
so
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So no, yeah, it's thinking about if working in a belly to belly business is, that's one segment of the area of the expertise, but then also as a product creation area, coming in as maybe either a consultant, or you're coming in creating a digital product or even a physical product. Likewise, I don't know what you've been doing within the past 20 years of your career, but if it's been in a different area, but you've honed some type of skill set, you can still even transfer that same skill set into the fitness industry, just servicing other fitness people, so that maybe you don't take so much of a risk of jumping headfirst into your fitness, but you still get the satisfaction of being in the industry while still leveraging your developed skill sets.
Yeah, I mean, and the one I'm talking about is more of an offline experience. It's like person to person doing it in a group, but some people feel more comfortable doing a blog, just doing it on their social media, providing 15-second workout clips on Instagram. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can do it and sort of test where you want to do it online before you maybe do an offline experience. And other people are more just like, I want hands-on in person, and I'll just get to the online stuff later. That's, some people are more tech online and some people are more earthy, like in person. You got to sort of make that decision. I don't think either one is right or wrong. It's like I said, what speaks to your strengths and what do you want to do?
I can tell funny stories. Like I realized one day that I really liked shooting people as a photographer. And one day then someone started offering money to shoot them. I'm like, well, okay, I will take your money and I will shoot you. And then I quickly turned into this paying lucrative hobby. But I knew I liked to shoot fitness and I like to shoot a certain type of photography. But then one day someone asked me to shoot weddings. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. I can tell you something. I do not like shooting weddings. I do not like the chemistry of it or whatever. I can produce great images. I mean, I'm reasonably confident, but it's just not my passion. And so going to what Brett said, it's like, hey, just try it. It doesn't hurt to try it. And then once you know, and you're like, okay, well, I know what I do like and I'll continue chasing that.
Yeah.
I have another question here from Nancy. Are moms in fitness something overrated to find a niche in? Are people interested in the journey, the progress per se, or see your fit already? So I think she's saying, okay, are moms in fitness something overrated to find a niche in?
No, I don't. I think they're just like, if you go on Instagram, there are so many like bikini competitors and fitness and this and that, but they all, I'm seeing people with huge followings. There's always people out there that are going to benefit from it. So I do think you can find your own niche in to a degree, but it may not be like you're the only mom that does this, but maybe you're, a mom that has kids, 3 kids, 4, whatever it is, that is got a full-time job and doing that. And I mean, just my point is, no, I do not think it's overrated at all. I think there are so many men, women, moms, non-moms, women that are going to be moms that want to know, how do you balance it? maybe you're a single mom. Maybe you're not a single mom, but you're working. Maybe you're a stay-at-home mom. I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't think it's overrated. I think this information still needs to get out there, and there are going to be a lot of people that you can help. You just got to get in contact with them. So, no, I don't think it's at all overrated. And what was the other part about being fit?
Um, are people interested in the journey, quote unquote, the progress, or want to see you're fit already?
No, I think you have different people. Some people are going to be gravitated toward those moms that are like really fit and have actually balanced, like they get their workouts in and whatever else. And others are like, there's bloggers that I follow that they're like, I don't get my workout in every day, and I'm still 20 pounds overweight, and this is how I'm making my life work. And that's amazing. And that's great. And there are a lot of women that are gravitated toward that of like, I relate to that. I haven't found a way either. And I love that she's still trying to find her way, and I'm listening every step of the way. Wherever you are in that journey is right if you make it right and you convey it in the right way.
That's a great point. I remember one of my favorite blogs, go figure, is this woman's blog. It's called 300 Pounds Down. She's looking to lose 300 pounds, and she's a good chunk into her journey, but she's not there yet. I love watching. It's like watching someone climb Mount Everest. It's like the biggest challenge that someone can emotionally go through and physically go through, and she's trying to conquer it. And to me, I find the journey very exciting. As much as I find people who are like on my vision board is like, wow, that's the perfect body. I love that body part of her, and I want to emulate that.
That reminds me of when I was on Biggest Loser, and even after, when I would see the contestants and we'd go out, people would look at them and I'd hear them say things like, wow, they're so overweight. And I'm thinking to myself, this girl lost 120 pounds. That guy lost 150. You have no idea where they're at in their journey. So if you judge a book by its cover, you may not know, but there are so many people that were tuning in, 10 million people tuning in to watch them go through that journey and lose it. And they weren't there yet.
That's true. You don't watch Biggest Loser to watch the most fit person get more fit. You watch the Biggest Loser to watch the person who has the most insane journey. And that's what gets the ratings.
Yes.
That's the money answer right there. Got another question. Got Erica here. Hi, Erica. I recently got an online personal training certification and need more experience in being personable. Is becoming a group fitness instructor a good place to start? I like what you just said about the online, offline experience.
That's a good question. Group fitness can be a very tough place. Because it depends on the gym, but some of the members can be very catty and just like very. I taught at a place where I was told, because I was subbing for an instructor, that the front row is probably going to walk out on you in the middle of your class, and they did. And that was, they just had what they wanted as a class, and I wasn't providing that. But for everyone that left, who came in. But I don't know if that's the place to start necessarily. I think if you wanted to be more personable, personal training is the place to do it, because you're one-on-one. Doing it in a group, you're a lot of times having to be like this cheerleader and get things out. You're not giving a lot of personal attention when you're working with bigger groups. Maybe it's semi-group, so it's like 10 people, and that could be a place to start, or 4, or even tandem training. But I do think if you want to get more personable, then do it with less people and give more attention and learn how to do it that way, and take some of those lessons to a bigger group. And you can expand, not jump to doing a group class in the gym, but maybe you do a boot camp and then get to that. Or you can do like an online challenge where you're doing something and maybe you're providing videos where you record yourself and talk to the group, and then you're responding that way. But, personable, I think it's one-on-one. I think you're going to get that. And what I would say is, when you are working with people, I don't care if it's online groups, in-person groups, or one-on-one, get their feedback. They're the ones that are going to give you the best feedback. I can give you advice, but they're going to give you feedback. Ask them the difficult questions. And like I said at the beginning of this, you got to have thick skin. If you ask a loaded question, you're not going to get the answer you want. You want to ask a very genuine question, let them give the good and let them give the bad. That's the only way you're going to learn.
You know, it reminds me, I know that some of the like big production folks who are like in Beachbody, like the Starfront, they often test their programs out on group training groups. So basically they keep, while they're still doing their TV and video and production stuff, the big stuff, they have one foot that's still connected to the group training so that they can test their programs, get the feedback that you're mentioning exactly, and seeing what's resonating.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. I mean, for those of you that are doing group classes, you know, and you'll know the feedback pretty much right away because the energy of the group just pops up. You know, that's something you don't get that immediate feedback necessarily in a group, a one-on-one. Person's out, you know, like, oh my God, I love that bicep curl. That's not like, you're not getting that kind of that feedback, but you get that in a group. You'll hear a hooping and hollering, or somebody's going to let something out that, you know, like that was it. But one-on-one a little different. You got to actually pull them aside a few minutes beforehand, a few minutes after, ask them their questions, or it can be in an email. Some people will give you their advice not face to face, but they'll do it in an email. A lot of ways, but you got to ask those questions.
Awesome. Diana has a question. What are the key indicators to know that a person is more? I have an 18-year career and my heart's desire is to help people full time. I've been doing 5-figure online coaching for the last 3 years, and this year added seminar and conference speaking. So she wants to know, when do you feel is a good time to make that jump from corporate to full-time entrepreneur? Key indicators.
Oh man, that's a really good question. For me personally, I mean, I really just didn't feel it in me. I was a risk taker. I think if you're in a full-time job, if you can start making money the other way and you're already building a following, like you have people following you on social media, or you have an email list going, something where there's a little bit of a nest egg or a following that you know you can expand on, and not that you're starting from ground zero. I think that's a big part of it. You know, when you see that it struck you, like you're starting to really feel that pull, you're starting to see results, let's say in the group that you're working with, you're starting to see those transformations. So it would be, are you making money in the other area that you want to transition over to? Is there a core following that you've started? Can you see traction in that? Whether that is subscribers or that there's just this pulse that's happening there. You know, if you're starting to train people or whatever, if you're starting to see like real results and they're referring people, like that's like a huge thing to make the jump, in my opinion. What about you, Natalie? What do you think?
Good question. Yeah. Cause I jumped from being an investment banker into entrepreneur in the fitness industry. People thought I was like smoking crack. They were just like, like you're leaving Belgium to do this in LA, you don't know where you're going. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm going to land on my own 2 feet, and I would rather be a florist at this point in time in my life than spend my time on another Excel deck for you guys. So for me, when I thought to myself, I go, one, do I believe in my heart that I will land on my own 2 feet if this went away right now? And I'm like, what do I need to have that feeling? I'm like, okay, my credit limit looks good on my credit card. That's like a huge factor. I've got enough savings to swing me a number of months. 3, I am making money today. Like what I did was I calculated what was my per hourly at my hobby passion. And you basically take, okay, how much did you earn? Would you like to earn over an entire year, divided by 2,000, and that's your hourly. And then you figure out what's your own personal hourly to maintain your lifestyle. If you can clear that, or somehow you're like at the border point where like, if I just threw 8 more hours a day at this, I know I would clear that, jump over that. My answer was there. So I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I might be in a situation where things are going to be tight, because I was realistic. I'm like, every entrepreneur has at least a tight year, 6 months, whatever it takes to get off the ground. But you're in a great spot, Diana, because you actually have a job and you have the ability to float your job while getting all the necessary research done beforehand. I just came to a point when I just said that I want to do this. I just want to do, in my heart, it made me happy. And I could not put a price on what happy meant to me. So if this did not make me happy, why am I investing more time in it? This makes me happy and it gives me purpose. And on a larger life scale, I want to live my life with purpose where I'm changing lives. And this is the path that I decided to take. And then it was funny because even when you make your initial jump and those first 6 months, first year, when I was trying to hack it in LA, make money, over time, people picked up on my natural skill set, which was business and technology and project management. And then I just ended up doing that within the fitness industry. Whereas before I was jumping in as a photographer and I was being like a fitness model and trying to do talent or do whatever you do in LA. So Diana, I think what's going to naturally happen that when you make that jump, you're going to see whatever you've been doing in corporate, that's going to be a natural strong set that's going to also continue to propel you as an entrepreneur. So things will start showing pretty quickly, I think. Hopefully that helps you out, Diana.
And I wouldn't wait for everything to align perfectly, because a little bit of fear and a little uncertainty lights a very, very big fire underneath your tail to make it happen. And if you don't have that incentive, you're waiting for the perfect moment. You may not ever bounce.
That's true. And actually, that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't want to stay in corporate personally, because I didn't feel like I had enough passion, like the passion that you need within to be as an entrepreneur, where you're like all in, your skin is in the game. That was like the fire I desired in my life. Erica has another question. She has it for me, actually. I would love to attend the FMI conference, but cannot attend for timing reasons. Is there a live stream option of the seminars for a cost? I'm actually, right now what we have set up is that we're going to record all of the lectures, and then we're going to put them on the FMI membership site. So it's an all access pass. You can actually check it out today. If you go to the fmiguild.org, click on courses or community or join now. We have all of the seminars, summits, webinars for the last 4 years up in there. So we have about 50 plus lectures. So you can watch it all, no risk, $1 for 7 days. And then if you continue on, it's $34.95 a month, or you can get a whole year for $249 at 60% off. So all the content's there. It's available for you to watch at your own convenience. I'm looking into live streaming right now because funny enough, one of the speakers, Mike Rashid, said that he was coming, he promoted on his social media that he's coming to speak. And then he has a very large audience. So about like 60 people go, hey, is there a live stream? And then he starts tagging me. Yes, there will be a live stream, right, Natalie Min? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna figure this out right now. So there's a possibility that there's gonna be a live stream. However, I can guarantee you that no matter what, you will get the video content and it will be on the online membership site. So you choose to watch it. And last question here we have from Diana. Thank you. Actually, she just was giving us additional feedback, right? Exactly where I'm at, Natalie. Corporate finance and my soul is being sucked out. I know you're feeling this is like soul sucking work. The fear of not generating enough money is the issue. And I work on my savings and give myself a deadline. And by the way, I'm cheating on my job with y'all now. I love that. And I totally get that, because I was working, let's say like from 7 a.m. till 6 p.m., 7 p.m. in corporate. And then I was creating my brand online and becoming Natalie Min from 8 o'clock till midnight at night and figuring out what I wanted to do. So totally get you. I would say, in fact, Diana, if you would probably be really good too to watch the lectures, because it's going to give you an opportunity to hear from people who are doing this kind of work full time, what the passion work is, and then they're going to tell you what their success factors were. So as you're listening to this, you're going to start slowly deprogramming the corporate lifestyle and programming your brain for entrepreneurship, because that's what really is honestly the most scary part. It's like taking the pill from Matrix and you wake up one day and you realize, oh my God, I don't know how to function in this world. I'm like an alien in this entrepreneur world, but I can kick butt in finance, corporate finance all day long. So work on associating yourself with enough, or listening to entrepreneurs, their way of thinking, how they problem solve, and it's going to help alleviate a lot of the anxiety that you have about that jump. Because once you have a lot of your baseline questions answered, or at least have a solution for the risk, things will start coming together pretty quickly for you. So hey guys, let's see, connection. Sharon, thank you. My connection wasn't the best. However, I've gained very good information. Thank you both. Thank you for you guys joining with us. What I want to mention is that we do these webinars for free, and I really appreciate Brett being able to join us and other speakers that have done it in the past. But for us to be able to continue to do this free, we want to really know how you feel about it. Give me a testimonial, or give me something on the sidebar here about how you feel about the webinar and this value that it gave to you. And then also, please share the webinar. Tell people on your social media, hey, just watch this webinar. It's awesome and it's on replay for free. So come join and watch this. That would be really, really helpful for us to get our message out. Again, FMI's mission is to create business leaders in the fitness industry. So with your help in reaching a larger audience, we can organically grow this together. So I'd really, really appreciate it. With that, where can we find you, Brett, online?
All my social media and my main website is my name, Brett Hoebel, B-R-E-T-T, last name H-O-E-B-E-L. And my new program, 20 Minute Body, we have now, I basically was trained by Beachbody. So I wanted to copy the same type of DVD system. And when I came up with the name for that, or the idea for that, I had a bunch of them, but short workouts was the number one excuse I was getting from friends, family, and clients of why they weren't working out or cooking for themselves. They didn't have enough time. So came out with 20 Minute Body DVDs, the book, and digital downloads. And that is on the website, 20minutebody.com, 20minutebody.com. That's the new program out.
Brett's known for the sexy capoeira booty thing. So this is actually pretty fun. I actually did this in my living room. And I'm like, woo! My husband's like, what are you doing? It is awesome. It makes you feel sexy just doing it. I never even knew I had that move inside of me. So you guys had to just check it out. Get the DVD. It's really, really super fun. So thank you so much, Brett. I will see you at the summit on the 24th, or maybe even earlier, and again at the after party. So if you guys cannot make it to the event, totally understand. We're all going to be partying our little booties off in Hollywood at the Iron Magazine official Halloween party at Boulevard 3. It's a VIP private event from 6 to 10. However, the doors open to the public after 10 p.m. So if you are in the SoCal area and you need something fun to do and you are thinking about putting on a costume and hanging out with a bunch of fitness people, come join us. It's open doors. So we'd love to see you there.
Cool. I'll see you there.
See ya. Bye.